up, everyone? I hope everybody had a fine Sunday here watching football. Welcome to the first Sunday of December, and this is our first Extra Point episode of the month of December. I'm Lauro Antonio. With me today is Isaiah Leong, the Asian Skip Bayless, and Chris P. Bacon is also joining us today as well. Ben Kearse will be joining us in about 20 minutes. So, fellas, how's your night going? And let's get ready to recap some games here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing that well actually because this was supposed to be the one of the best weekends of my life because you had Alabama playing Georgia and then you had the Niners playing the Seahawks, and I thought, oh man, it would be so great if Georgia beats Alabama and the Niners beats the Seahawks, two of the teams that I hate the most, go down in a matter of 2 days, and both of my teams end up losing, and one loses in heartbreaking fashion. And I mean, it was just brutal, man. It was just really, really brutal. It went from being one of the best weekends of my life to one of the worst weekends of my life. But hey, man, glad to be on the show and to talk about the games that have been going on. And I brought my Niners Christmas hat because
you're in the
Christmas.
holiday spirit, Isaiah.
Yes, in the holiday spirit, exactly.
Isaiah's already in the holiday spirit. Chris, I mean, this is your first appearance on the Extra Point, so
It is.
how are you doing? And welcome to the Extra Point.
Thank you for having me, and not too bad. I mean, it was a good Sunday afternoon, and a lot of good games happened this week or today, and it's going to continue Monday.
All right, so Chris, before we get to some of the games that we are going to be talking about tonight on the show, give us a little recap on the Cowboys and Saints matchup on Thursday night. I mean, Isaiah already talked about it, and I knew you didn't talk about it earlier on the morning tailgate. And Chris, what was your takeaways from the Cowboys' 27-17 win over the Saints?
I feel like the Cowboys defense is the side of the ball that helped Dallas win. I feel like the offensive line needs help for Dak, but I mean, it was a good game overall. Jameis Winston. I think they need to get a new quarterback with the Saints, at least for this season, and it's going to be a struggle for New Orleans.
It's probably going to be a struggle for the Saints. Like Isaiah said that they're done, but now let's get to the good stuff. But let's start with one of the most intriguing games of the 1 p.m. Eastern time slot. And I even picked this game, picked this team to get their first win of the season. And the Minnesota Vikings, they thought that they had a comeback in them, but Jared Goff led his team down the field. The Detroit Lions are now 1-10-1 as they beat the Vikings 29-21. I have to say, it was a relief for the Lions and for Coach Campbell and for the entire Lions organization that has been suffering all these losses all season long. And here's the difference about the Detroit Lions. They were so atrociously bad when Matt Patricia was the head coach. Coming from a Patriots fan myself, Matt Patricia was my defensive coordinator with the Patriots, and I really think if you look at it, I kind of think that the Detroit Lions is the Detroit Lions with Dan Campbell. They're heading in the right direction, and I think soon enough, Dan Campbell is going to lead the Lions to a playoff berth, Super Bowl. He's been with Sean Payton, and I think that Dan Campbell is already the right fit for the Detroit Lions because you already know that he's played for the organization, and I really think that the ownership really likes Dan Campbell. The players love him. And I really think the Lions are heading into the right direction. I'm just comparing this Lions team to last year's because the Lions last year, they were atrocious. Matt Patricia's defense was so atrociously bad. And obviously Matthew Stafford it's not really his fault. I felt like that Dan Campbell should have kept him around. But Matthew Stafford is now in the NFC West with the LA Rams. So I'm going to start with Isaiah on this one. So what was your initial takeaways on the Detroit Lions winning their first game of the season? And I called this game, actually, for the Lions to get their first win of the year.
No, you called it, Lauro, and I think one of our members of Coast to Coast, Big B also called it last night when it was last night on Sports Minute, and I think Chris can back me up on this, that
Yeah.
Big B, who's a Vikings fan, actually picked the Lions over his own Vikings. So that just shows you the state of affairs right now in Minnesota. But, when I look at this game, first of all, I'm really happy for Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, and the Lions for getting their first win because they had come so close so many times, and just to see it get snatched from them in the final minutes of the game, and I just felt so sorry for them. I felt so bad for them, and just to see them get a win finally and not go winless, it's a great thing. It was great to see the joy on their faces and the celebration on the sidelines, but I think for me, even though the Lions got their first win, I think that this was more of bad Vikings than it was of good Lions because I really don't understand Mike Zimmer's defensive play call on the final play of the game. It looked like the defense, I think Detroit was on the Minnesota 23-yard line or something like that, and it was fourth down, or it was fourth down. Yeah, it was fourth down. And you knew it was going to be a pass to the end zone. So, and I felt like there was a lot of confusion between the secondary members and the linebackers about what to do, who to guard. And, that's why they left that guy wide open that ultimately caught the touchdown pass because there was just so much confusion. I thought that Mike Zimmer, I'm not really sure if he had a timeout left, but if he did, he should have called a timeout just to get everyone set because, that's the final play of the game. That's going to be the most important play of the game. And I think that it was just a bad play call, and it was just even worse of a decision for him not to call a timeout, to get his team set for the biggest play of the game. So I think for Mike Zimmer, if Mike Zimmer, I think, was already on the hot seat, his seat is now scorching hot, fellas. Like, I do not think that Mike Zimmer will be back after this season because, he's just been there a while now, and the Vikings just seem to be going down the last few years.
They have, but the Vikings are still alive in the playoffs. And if the Vikings manage to somehow make it to the playoffs, then I think Mike Zimmer is safe. What do you guys think? Isaiah, let's start with you. What do you think on that statement?
I don't know. If he makes the playoffs, I still think he should be gone because I just think the Vikings need a fresh new voice and a fresh new leader in the organization. I think they've been doing the same things for the last 7 years, and for me, as an outsider looking in, I just think that the Vikings players have just tuned out Mike Zimmer, and it's just been the same thing over and over. That's why they can't win. Mike Zimmer is supposed to be a defensive genius, and right now for the Vikings, it's not their offense that is bad. It's their defense that is not good at all. So I think that if I'm the Vikings, I would really seriously consider parting ways with Mike Zimmer after this season because I just think that you just need like a new fresh voice and a new fresh leader to captain that team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then Chris, what are your takeaways on the Lions getting their first win of the season?
Yeah, I see them out, but even if they make the playoffs and go far, I don't know if he'll survive. I've seen teams fire their coach after a win, either a playoff win or a Super Bowl win. I don't think he's safe totally.
Yeah, I don't think Mike Zimmer is safe, but Big B's going to be joining us shortly. I can't wait to hear his take on it. But anyways, are we ready to troll him when he gets on?
Hey, I'm not just going to troll him. I'm going to troll my guy Stephen Wang, who made a terrible prediction before the Niners and the Vikings game, I believe last week. Yeah, last week, where he said the Niners or the Vikings were going to finish with a better record than the Niners. And right now, it might still happen, but you lost to the winless Lions. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, the Vikings are playing the Steelers next week. I don't know if the Vikings are going to win this game, and then the Lions are going to be in Denver. But we got some comments here. So Casey King says he's tuning in right now. He says, good evening, guys. And my Rams get a nice bounce back win tonight. We're actually going to be talking about that game shortly for Isaiah because the Jaguars are heading pretty much down the drain right now. And then Casey King has a good point here. We'll leave this comment up before Big B gets on the show. And he says he thinks that Mike Zimmer will get fired. So, anyways, Isaiah, can you reiterate that comment right there?
Which one, about Mike Zimmer getting fired?
Potentially getting fired if the Vikings continue to fall.
I don't think he's going to get fired mid-season because he's had a lot of success in Minnesota and they have so much respect for him. I think if he does get fired, it's going to be after the season. I think it's like kind of like a Ron Rivera situation with the Panthers where, you know, he was there for a long period of time. He had a lot of success, but then, you know, the last 3 years, it just hasn't been good for the team. So I think Mike Zimmer is kind of in the same boat as Ron Rivera, and I will not be shocked if him and the Vikings part ways after the season.
And what about you, Chris? Do you think Zimmer will get fired or parted ways at the end of the season, that the Vikings should get either an offensive-minded coach or a defensive-minded coach?
I think he'll get fired. They'll say, you know, they parted ways, but we all know it's fired. I don't know if they really need a defensive coach. He's kind of that mindset. Maybe they should go offensive.
What do you think, Isaiah? If the Vikings fire Mike Zimmer, is it an offensive-minded head coach for the Vikings to kind of help Kirk Cousins get on the right track?
I think it's going to be an offensive-minded coach because I think that Kirk Cousins is going to have a lot of say in who the next coach is going to be. And he's been working with a defensive coach for a long time now in Minnesota. And I just think that for the Vikings, you know, normally when you fire a coach, right, when you fire a coach and he's like let's say he's an offensive coach or a defensive coach and you fire him, you always get the opposite of what you fired. So I think that if the trend continues, I think Minnesota will probably get an offensive coach. So I don't know who's really out there that you could say, you know, that you could say could be like a top candidate for Minnesota. I mean, Eric Bieniemy maybe, and I mean he could fit what Kirk Cousins wants to do because Kirk Cousins is really good in the bootleg game and the play action game. And I'm trying to think of like other candidates. Maybe, and I don't know if this is gonna happen. I really don't know if this is gonna happen, but and this is not an offensive coach. What if Minnesota gets Vic Fangio if he gets fired by Denver? Because
that could be good, but I'm not sure if they want to go in that route.
Yeah, that's. I think if they do get a new coach, it's probably going to be an offensive-minded coach rather than a defensive coach. But I could see, like, if Vic Fangio does get fired, I could see Minnesota, like, giving him a chance because their defense has been, like, the problem the last several years.
That's probably right. If they go with another defensive-minded head coach, I think it could benefit the Vikings to kind of help this defense get on the right track and get an offensive coordinator that could help Kirk Cousins get on the right track.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my thinking there. But the game I want to talk about next is I called this game on Colorcast, the Buccaneers taking on the Atlanta Falcons, and it was a 30-17 win. I mean, things have gone wrong for the Atlanta Falcons at home, which is embarrassing. They need to get a home win somehow. But for the Bucs, Tom Brady, he continues to own the Atlanta Falcons. So, Isaiah, what was your takeaway on Brady continuing his dominance over Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons? You know that Matt Ryan is still one of the game's elite quarterbacks.
I wasn't surprised that Brady torched up the Falcons because the Falcons defense is their Achilles heel. The Falcons suck on defense. They don't have a pass rush. They don't have any good linebackers. Their secondary is truly awful. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Brady was able to dice up the Falcons defense today because they're just so bad. They are a offensive team without a defense. And I think last week when we made our predictions on who was going to win this game, you know, I think me, you, Loro, and also Ben, again, we all predicted that the Bucs were going to win because the Falcons, they don't have a defense. And when you don't have a defense and you're going up against Tom Brady, well, it's going to be a long, long day for you. And the only chance you have of winning that game is if you keep scoring. You keep matching the Buccaneers in terms of scoring touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, and you can't basically ever punt the football. That's really, really hard to do in the NFL. So I'm not surprised that the Buccaneers were able to have their way with the Falcons. I'm surprised, however, that the Falcons even have 5 wins because their defense is just not that good. And when I look at it right now, their defense is not that good. Matt Ryan, he has struggled the last several games. The offensive line is not that good. I don't even know how they have 5 wins. When I look at this team, I look at it as like a 2-win team or a 3-win team. I don't look at this as like a 5 or a 6-win team. So the fact that they have 5 or 6 wins is truly amazing.
It is. I mean, I think that the Falcons are much better than they were last year, and I think Arthur Smith has done a good job retooling and reshaping Matt Ryan's career, which I think that's the bright spot for Arthur Smith. I think he's done a really good job, but I just think that the defense is an issue right now, folks.
Yeah, I mean, like you could have all the offense you want, but for you to win with just having a good offense or a great offense and not having a great defense or a good defense whatsoever, you're going to have to be like the Chiefs. And the Falcons right now just aren't on the same level as the Chiefs. Matt Ryan's not Patrick Mahomes, and they don't have Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce or Edward Helaire and all those other weapons that they have for them to be able to outscore opponents. So you got to have like a competent defense, which the Falcons just don't have. And I think what the Falcons need to do, and I think Chris will probably agree with me, is that the Falcons in this upcoming draft, they need to go all defense. All 9 picks have got to be defense. It's got to be defense, defense, and defense. And maybe you can have like 1 or 2 picks on the offensive line just to help protect Matt Ryan as he's goes down the final years of his career.
And what about you, Chris? What were you going to say about the Falcons needing to retool the defense in this upcoming draft?
Oh, I agree. I think our defense, I mean, it's something the Cowboys did this past draft, and it's helped them out. I mean, they picked one or two players on offense, but it was mainly defensive players, and it really helped out. And I feel like the Falcons should go that route.
Yeah, I think they should go that route too. But the next game we're going to talk about is Herbert versus Burrow. They went head-to-head. Joe Burrow had a slight pinky injury, but at the same time, he did what he could to lead the Bengals to a comeback, but Herbert got the better of it. So anyways, we got Ben Kirsch here joining us here. And before we get to this, Ben, welcome. And tell us your thoughts on Brady versus Ryan.
Just Tom Brady owns the Falcons. There's nothing new to it. I think that the biggest thing about the Falcons is they need a big restructure in terms of their front office. I feel like Brady always so obviously the 25-point comeback, which by the way, sorry Falcon fans, I have to keep trolling you with this shirt. It never gets old. But it figures, right? When Brady plays the Falcons, I'm wearing this. But still, he just always seems to have that great magic. It just seems like he has something against them, like a lot of other AFC East teams that we don't have to mention at this moment right now. But yeah, I mean the Falcons actually played really well. Their offense actually moved the ball pretty well against the Bucs defense. The Bucs defense, if they don't go far in the playoffs, it'd be a big reason why. It just seems like they've been getting carved up, and this is with a lot of their guys back too. So, yeah, I think that I was telling Laura last night. I think that the Bucs were going to win, and they ended up winning by 10. I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But now on to the Chargers and Bengals game. But I was talking about Joe Burrow having a sore pinky, but he still found a way to get his team back in the game, but at the same time, it was not enough for the Bengals to get the win. But the Chargers, they are still pretty much in the thick of things in the AFC wild card round. So Isaiah, what was your takeaway on watching Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert go head-to-head for the first time?
My thoughts were the turnovers really killed them. I think they turned the ball over like 4 times, and the Chargers raced out to like a 24-0 lead before the Bengals came storming back. And then I believe the Bengals were actually driving, and then Joe Mixon fumbles the football, and it's on the turf. It's laying there, and the Chargers scoop it up, and they race 50 yards to the house for a touchdown, and that's basically a backbreaker right there. I don't know if I believe in the Bengals, honestly. Like, they have a really good offense, but I think the problem with this team is that, they have 2 problems. Number one, their defense is kind of inconsistent. If they can't get pass rush, their secondary is not that great. And then the second thing about the Bengals is that they're just making mistakes that you shouldn't be making if, you're really trying to contend for a playoff. That's because the Bengals right now are a very young team. So they're learning how to win. They haven't won a lot of games in a long, long time, in like the last 2 years. So I think right now they're just taking the baby steps. They're trying to learn how to win. And I think right now they're ahead of schedule. So I wouldn't be shocked if they don't make the playoffs this year. I think if they make the playoffs, it will be a great added bonus. But I think that for the Bengals, I think what they need to improve on is, they have to get after the quarterback. They have to be able to stuff the run because Eckler had a big day today against the Bengals. And also with Joe Burrow's injury, I'm not really that worried because it's not like Russell Wilson's injury where he broke his finger and he really affected him in terms of his ability to throw the football. It's just that the Bengals have to learn that you cannot turn the football over against any team, especially 4 times, if you want to win in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that you just have to lessen the turnovers, but also the MVP of our show, Justin Bosman, you guys can reiterate to this. He said something about Baker Mayfield. He says he's doing commercials on a bye week. And I think that was a pretty funny comment right there. So, Ben, what were your takeaways on the LA Chargers beating the Cincinnati Bengals?
The Chargers had a 24-0 lead. The Bengals this season have shown a lot of perseverance. So, yes, they lost, but they've shown over the course of the season that they've been a team that's been fighting. And I think that, kind of shows a lot of character, especially for Bengals teams in the past years where they would just give up in a kind of a situation like this. It comes to show how much that Burrow and a lot of the younger team, all those players, like Isaiah was saying, have been growing. I think the biggest thing is our coaching. I still don't know if I have a lot of trust in Zach Taylor in terms of as a coach. I think that they kind of remind me, Isaiah, Laura, and Christopher, the Bengals do, in terms of the Broncos with the better quarterback situation. You have a lot of skilled guys, a lot of young skilled guys around, and then you have the quarterbacks there, and then your head coach is kind of Vic Fangio and Zach Taylor. They kind of have similar. I mean, obviously, I think Zach Taylor is going to be there for a little bit longer. I think Vic Fangio is more in the hot seat, but I think that they have a lot of similar things. The defense, as Isaiah was saying too, is a little suspect. I think that, they can definitely create some turnovers here and there, but if they don't get turnovers, I think that they're very suspect. And I think that the AFC North as a whole, though, the biggest thing is there's not one team that really scares me out of that. I think it's kind of a lot of just jumbo teams that have good records. And I think that it's a really interesting division, but I just think there's not one team out there that's like, hey, that team really stands out. I think you kind of have to really monitor on a weekly basis. Bengals had a great start. It's their season, but I think that over time teams adjust, and I think that even with kind of a slow start they've had the last couple of weeks, they still can definitely make some noise because of their quarterback situation. It's more in terms of how their inconsistencies kind of shape out the rest of the way, how they execute. As a young team, they obviously have to pick up some wins down the stretch. And if they do, I think they have a chance.
Oh, okay. So anyways, we'll get Chris back on here in a minute. So we're going to go back to our comment section, and Ishmael Lancaster tunes in, and he says, good evening, fellas. And this question is for you, Ben. And he wants to know if Joe Judge of the New York Giants gets fired. So could you answer that question?
Well, how are you doing, Justin? Hope all is well to the MVP here. But obviously we have all the MVPs here that are joining. Like always, I appreciate all the love and support. But to answer Justin's question, I do not think Joe Judge gets fired. I think it's more front office wise. I think Gettleman's more the next guy to go in the hot seat at this point. Does Joe Judge maybe get fired in the next couple of years? Sure, depending on terms of how the team kind of turns out. But I think that it's not all his fault per se. I think that it's a lot of the roster situation. Their offensive line is absolutely a mess. And as a Patriot fan from living in the Giants area, I'm able to see a lot of their games. Sadly, because there's nothing else better to watch in football in my area, so I'm kind of getting sucked to watch this Giants team. And man, it's just a struggle each week. I was watching this game against the Dolphins today because I either had watching the Dolphins, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Giants, the Jets, and the Eagles. So I kind of got stuck with nothing. I could have had like when my friend said in Massachusetts, the Chargers and Bengals, and Brady and the Falcons. So I didn't really have much luck watching great games today. But the Giants definitely are a mess. With all the talent that they have too, they just never can put it all together. It's definitely a front office situation.
And Isaiah, can you reiterate what Ben said about if you think Joe Judge is on the hot seat as the Giants are? They 1 week they're good and 1 week they struggle.
I don't know if he deserves to be on the hot seat because he's only been there for like 1.5 years this far, but I could see him getting fired because the Giants just aren't patient with their coaches. I mean, I think their owner said something, I believe it was like 4 years ago when or 3 years ago when they fired Pat Shurmur, and he said that the reason why they didn't fire Gettleman, they fired Shurmur instead, is because coaches, you could after 2 years you can really see if the program that they built is actually any good or not. While GM, it's going to take them even longer to build their program. So I think the Giants just have a tendency of after 2 years, if things aren't going well, they're just going to fire their coach. So sadly, I think Joe Judge will be fired just because I don't think Giants ownership is any patient.
They're not. I think John Mara and the Tisch family are not very patient with their coaches, especially. But I think that the coach that they were more patient with was Tom Coughlin. So basically, the Giants have not had a really good head coach since Tom Coughlin. So Chris, back to you on this topic. What was your takeaways on the Bengals losing to the Chargers?
I mean, Burrow was pretty good today, but I don't know. I like Justin Herbert. He's been doing good, so I feel like he's improving a lot. So
yeah, I think he is. But anyways, let's get to the fun stuff here. Let's go on to the late games to talk about. I'm going to start with Isaiah's Jaguars that they got blown out 37-7 to the LA Rams. And I think that was more of a confidence booster for the LA Rams. And for the Jags, they only scored and they were only held to 7 points. And it tells you something about the Jaguars not being good just yet. So, Isaiah, what was your thoughts on that game in particular? And do you think that with this loss, you think Urban Meyer's going to need to move on from Darrell Bevell and Brian Schottenheimer?
Well, I'm going to be banging that drum. Every week we talk about the Jags, that Darrell Bevell and Brian Schottenheimer needs to be fired, and that they need to be fired as soon as possible because the offense that they run is just a dinosaur offense. It's extinct. You're literally running stuff from the 2010 Seattle Seahawks that they're running right now, and nobody really runs that type of stuff anymore, and defenses are more adept to shutting that type of offense down easily. That's why Trevor Lawrence hasn't had the success that he's had this season, is because they're just running the same stuff that Seattle literally ran with Marshawn Lynch back in 2010. So I think they need to move in a different direction. I think that if I'm Urban Meyer, the guy that I would get to bring in to help tutor Trevor Lawrence and to help that offense, and I think this might be a surprise to you guys, is actually the newly available Dan Mullen. I would get Dan Mullen from college to be the new offensive coordinator of the Jaguars, because if you guys remember, a lot of the stuff that they're running now in the NFL, they copy it from college football, like the RPOs and the spread offenses and some concepts from the air raid and stuff like that. So, and Dan Mullen, he knows what's going on in college football, so he's on the cutting edge, and he's really good working with young quarterbacks. Look what he did with Dak Prescott at Mississippi State. When Dak Prescott came in and was only like a 3-star recruit, he developed him into a stud quarterback. And then Alex Smith, when he was the offensive coordinator under Urban Meyer at Utah, Tim Tebow, and I'm trying to think of other quarterbacks that he's had, Kyle Trask as well. So this guy can develop quarterbacks. He runs a modern offense. I think he's perfect for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think for Dan Mullen's sake, I think the NFL is perfect for him because he's a guy that doesn't like to recruit. So if you don't like to recruit, then you're better off going to the NFL, because in college football, it's not about like the X's and O's. It's about recruiting. And, you know, in the NFL, it's about the X's and O's. So I think Dan Mullen would be my choice to be the Jaguars' next offensive coordinator. As far as like the Jaguars are concerned, I didn't want to say this I've tried to write it out. I've tried to write it out as long as possible that I could, as long as possible I could. But I gotta surrender, man. The Jaguars are done. I can't keep saying that the Jaguars are gonna win the AFC South. And Chris and Ben, I don't even know if they are like mathematically eliminated or not. They might be actually, but I think they are actually mathematically eliminated. But yeah, I gotta say that, you know, I was wrong about the Jags. The Jags, there's no way they're winning the AFC South. There's no way they're even gonna make the playoffs. And Urban Meyer, he's got a lot of work to do. And I think that what he needs to do, first step in the offseason, is fire Darrell Bevell and Brian Schottenheimer and bring in a modern-day offensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator that runs a modern-day offense. And also, you know, you got to bring in, like, offensive line help, wide receivers help, and also some tight ends as well, some competent tight ends and running backs, and just bring in some offensive weapons to surround Trevor Lawrence, because you can't, you know, waste another year of Trevor Lawrence's development. You know, it's really crucial that you start developing him now. And this year, I think, was a throwaway year for Trevor Lawrence's development, as he's looked completely awful this entire season. But I think next year is when we will really know if Trevor Lawrence is a bust or if he's the real deal.
I think Trevor Lawrence is the real deal, but you just got to give him time. So, Ben, what was your takeaways on the Rams 37-7 win? And that was a good confidence booster for the Rams here.
Well, Isaiah, I do appreciate you finally admitting the fact that the Jags won't be making it. I think we all knew that kind of after week 3. But as we have another guest in, welcome in to Big B. Thanks for joining. We have finally Big B. We have finally told Isaiah the Jags are all done. You know, we finally have kind of made to a consensus that his Jags are all done, and I'm finally glad that the whole narrative is done there. Rams are just definitely going to turn things around, I think, and I think that the Rams, you know, they had a complete game today. Yes, they played a really bad team, but it's a big turning point for them.
It sure is. And Big B, welcome to the show. So give us your thoughts on the Vikings losing to the Lions.
Hey, I told you guys it would not surprise me if they lost. I picked them to lose. I did say it was going to be a close game.
It was.
So it came down to the last drive like normal. Vikings are, you know, they're not out of the playoffs, but, I mean, they're skating on very thin ice. They can't afford to lose any more games, I don't think. But, you know, Thursday is going to be a big test for them, coming short week against Pittsburgh. So we'll see what happens, but I would say Thursday, if they lose again, then their playoff hopes are done for. Zim will be gone, but after the Lions almost beat them here in Minnesota, I said after that game, it would not surprise me if the Lions beat them in Detroit. So it happens.
And then what about you, Chris? What was your takeaways on the Rams beating the Jaguars 37-7?
I'm not surprised.
What takeaways could there be except for Isaiah's team lost again?
Rams are good. Jags are bad. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and then now we'll get to Isaiah's team right now before we get to Ravens and Steelers.
Which one?
Between the 49ers and Seahawks. I've talked about if Seattle wins this game, I think that's a confidence booster, and I think they're going to go on a long win streak for them to get back into the playoff mix. And as for the 49ers, it was a rough loss for them, but it's tough playing up in Seattle. And I really think that the 49ers, since they lost to Seattle, they might have a hard time next weekend up in Cincy. And Isaiah, you can have the floor in this. What was your takeaways on the 49ers Seahawks game up in Seattle?
Well, my thoughts on this game was that this was I felt like this weekend in general, I had like a really, really bad hangover that just didn't go away. I mean, first it was like Georgia losing to Alabama, and then it was the Niners losing to Seattle when the Niners, I think, were like a touchdown favorite in this football game. And the Niners were dominating early. They had like a 17-7 lead. And when you looked at the stats, I mean, the Niners had 150 yards of total offense, and the Seahawks had -11. And the defense was getting after Seattle. And Russell Wilson couldn't do anything. The Seahawks offensive line couldn't block the Niners defensive line. The Niners were just running the ball down the Seahawks' throat. I mean, it looked really good early on, and I shut the TV off and I went to my nearby McDonald's to grab myself a cup of coffee, and then I looked down at the score. I'm like, what's going on, man? Why is all of a sudden it goes from 17-7, you're dominating, to 17-14, and Seattle has the ball and they're on the verge of scoring. So it was a game that had so much momentum shift. It came down to the wire, and it was very insane. It was a typical Niners Seahawks game, like from the Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll days, where there was so much twists and turns. And I think this might be like one of the most insane Niners Seahawks games I've ever seen. Maybe it's up there with the NFC Championship from, I believe, 2014 or 2013. But yeah, this game was like absolutely insane. There was just so many twists and turns. I mean, the ending was crazy as well. Like, you had Seattle nearly score, and they fumble the football at the 1 yard line. The Niners get it. And that's a huge break for the Niners, because if the Seahawks had scored, the Niners would have been down by 14 or 13 with about 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in the game. But instead, the Niners, they don't let the Seahawks score. The Niners get the football, and they drive all the way down the field, 90-some yards, and they get it first and goal at, I believe, the Seahawks 4 yard line or the 3 yard line. And Kyle Shanahan had like 2 timeouts, I believe. And I thought what Kyle Shanahan should have done is he should have ran the football on a couple of those first and goals and second and goals, because you were dominating Seattle when you were running the football. And I don't know why he chose to pass the football all 4 downs. The last one was the down that probably really hurt, because if Carlos Dunlap, if he doesn't get his big paw up and knock that football down, that's a wide open touchdown for Trent Sherfield, and the 49ers tie that football game. So, I mean, it was so close. Like, it was so close to the 49ers winning. But unfortunately, give credit to Seattle. Their defense got the stop that they needed at the end, and Carlos Dunlap pretty much saved the Seahawks season by getting his big paw up in the air and swatting that football down. Because, like I said, if he doesn't knock it down, or if it gets past his fingertips, it's a touchdown. And, who knows? We're going to go into overtime, and who knows what happens then. So football is truly a game of inches, man.
Sure is. And then, Ben, what was your takeaways on the Niners' close loss to the Seattle Seahawks?
Well, Isaiah, I know you've had a kind of a crappy weekend, but even with the Seahawks not being a great team overall this year, there's 3 things you got to say: death, taxes, and the Seahawks completely owning still the 49ers over the course of time. It's the honest truth. Even on a bad Seahawks team, Russell Wilson, who's been absolutely, I'm not saying garbage, but he's been pretty abysmal the last couple of weeks, I thought really kind of turn himself into the old Russell Wilson a lot of today. That he had a touchdown to Tyler Lockett, which was a very nice ball that he threw. Gerald Everett, if it wasn't for Gerald Everett really today, who knows how the game would have went? Because it looked like the Seahawks really were doing a lot better in terms of moving the football. I watched the game last week. They had a hard time even moving the football, so it's kind of a 180. And the Niners have a good defense, so I mean, you got to give that Seahawks team a lot of credit that they fought in, and like you said, it's definitely hard to go up to Seattle. Really tough environment, regardless of how their team is going this year. But Carlos Dunlap, he was a great acquisition from Cincy. Always really liked him there. Good edge rusher, and he's made some timely plays over the course of his time in Seattle, and he came up with the big one at the end. Myself as a Jimmy G guy, obviously coming as a Pats fan, I really liked him in New England. Really wanted him to kind of finish off on that last throw. Dunlap made a great play, as you said, game of inches, and give Seattle credit. It was a good one for them.
Good win for the Seahawks here. I think this might be a momentum booster for the Seahawks. And Big B, I know that this. If you look at the Seahawks right now, you think that with this win over Isaiah's Niners, you think that the Seahawks could make a push for the playoffs?
Hey, the NFC right now is the last couple spots I think are wide open. I think everybody's separated by one game, I think. 6 and whatever and 5 and whatever. So, I mean, you get on a good run here. Look what Buccaneers did last year about this time, maybe a couple weeks earlier, but they got on a nice run, got to the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, we all know anything can happen. I mean, heck, right now, officially, the Lions even still have a shot in the playoffs. Is it going to happen? No. I mean, I think right now Houston's the only team that's been officially eliminated. So, but that AFC final 2 spots, it's wide open right now. So, I don't think we have a clear-cut winner for another couple weeks. So,
yeah, we won't know that for sure. And then, Chris, you've had technical issues. What was your takeaways on the Seahawks beating the 49ers?
Oh, that was a good game. Down to the wire, I felt like 49ers had a chance to win that game, and they just fell short. But Seattle's looking good.
They are, and then we're going to go back to our comment section. Justin Bosman has a comment for you, Big B, because earlier today on the morning tailgate, you gave your Big B baller to Gardner Minshew.
I sure
And
did.
look at that.
You did.
Minshew magic is back for just one game, hopefully, because I think Jalen Hurts will probably be back for the next game.
Hurts is a starter, but also with Seattle, what about AP? Got in the end zone. He scored for Tennessee in his first game too, right? And then they released him.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so.
So now he's got 2 touchdowns, 2 different teams. So hopefully Seattle doesn't release him, lets him play out the season. So
That would be good. That would be good.
And he was running hard today. Like, I was very impressed because I thought that with AP, he hadn't played in 2 weeks, that he would come in and be rusty and out of shape. But he was actually really good in that game.
You look like it.
He sure
Especially
did
the
look
short
like it.
yardage situation.
She sure looked like it there. But anyways, let's talk about the Ravens and the Steelers. And kind of surprising to me is that the Steelers beat the Ravens. But hey, thank you, Steelers, for beating the Ravens. It really helped my Patriots a lot here. Ben, let me start with you on this. It was a 20-19 victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And what was your takeaways on this game?
It was kind of boring early on. The Ravens are just one of those teams, I think, that it's 8-4, but they're not playing like an 8-4 team. Their offense is very stagnant. Lamar Jackson, the story of him, he's very electric with on the ground, but I just never can trust him with his arm. Never really had that really crazy Lamar Jackson NFL in terms of through the air moment. He's made some throws here and there that I'll give him tip of the cap, give him credit, but a lot that you see, with a guy like a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes, they've made some throws. I'm like, okay, Those are throws that I can see are a really good quarterback. Lamar's is a good quarterback. I'm not going to deny that. He's very electric and stuff. But in order to get to that next step, I need to see more of the better throws from him in big time moments. And I mean, that throw that he threw, the 2-pointer to Mark Andrews, and they did say, I don't know if you guys heard about the 2-point conversion and what John Harbaugh said. Essentially, he said the reason why they went for 2 is because their secondary is so depleted. So they basically were just like, we're going to try to just win for it now. And, obviously Harbaugh made a very ballsy call. And sometimes, it backfires you. Sometimes it doesn't. Obviously, as a passer myself, I was glad enough. I mean, I don't want to be here rooting for the Steelers because I don't like either team. But, in this certain situation before tomorrow's game against Buffalo, which is going to be a big one, obviously, for us. But, that's a big game. That's a rivalry game. And, for Pittsburgh to come out on top is great to see. And, my name's Ben. I do like Big Ben. So, hey, we obviously share the same name and we're kind of big. So I guess I'll root for him in terms of giving him credit there. So, Marlon Humphrey is going to be out for the season. That's a huge loss for them. I think they said it was believed they're just going to have a torn ACL or MCL. I have to kind of look back on that. But he was one of the players that Harbaugh said after the game in terms of the reason why they went for 2, because if they went to overtime and the Steelers had the ball first, it looked like that the secondary was going to be so depleted that he didn't like their chances.
And what about you, Isaiah? What was your takeaways on this Ravens and Steelers game?
My takeaways on this game was that, like Ben said, you just can't trust Lamar Jackson, especially when he's forced to throw the football. I think that he's a really great runner, but when he's pressured and he's supposed to throw the football, you just can't trust him. And I think that when I was watching the replay of that 2-point conversion, he had that. I believe Mark Andrews, guys, or was it someone else? I think it was Andrews, but
it was Andrews. Yep.
Oh, it was Andrews. Yeah. So he had him open. And I think if he makes a little bit of a better throw and doesn't throw it to the right of him, then I think that the Ravens actually win this football game because they convert the 2-point conversion. So it just shows me that, Lamar Jackson, again, is a reliability when he's called on to throw the football in a big time moment, and he just couldn't deliver in this football game. And as far as the Steelers are concerned, the Steelers are still alive. They are still alive in the AFC playoff picture. The wild card is going to be insane down the stretch because you literally have like the Raiders, the Steelers, the Broncos are in it, the Bengals are in it, the Chargers. Like they're all five teams are vying for 3 spots, or 2 spots. So it's going to be like really insane down the stretch who actually steps up and is able to get one of those final 2 wildcard spots in the AFC. And I feel bad for the Ravens too, because now with Marlon Humphreys not being there, with him being out for the season, that's a huge blow for them. And I don't know how they're going to be able to survive without him, especially come playoff time when you have to face Mahomes and you have to face Josh Allen and all those teams that are like able to throw the football down the field. You can't have a secondary that is just completely depleted.
Absolutely not. A big B. And you think that the Ravens, with this loss, you think that they could bounce back to win their next game?
It all depends. I just have to say that, Harbaugh went for 2 points just to piss me off because I had a perfect week going in my picks for work, and that game lost it for me. But I guess he made the right call for himself. I mean, he knows his team better than we do. If he thought the defensive backs or the corners were depleted, it's probably best to try to win it now than into overtime. But it really doesn't say much for your defense if you are saying, we're tired and injured, so it doesn't give too much confidence in your backup. So it's a 50-50. I mean, if he makes it, we're all talking about how of a genius a move it is, and he didn't go for it. So now we're talking about how horrible it was. So, but if the Ravens will go as far as Lamar takes them. If he can start passing the ball well, I mean, we all know he can run. He can get the points that way. But he definitely has to learn and get more accurate in his passing to make him really contender. I know he's got an MVP under his belt, but I think right now, Lamar, the Ravens are going to go as far as Lamar takes them.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. And Chris, I know you had technical issues. What was your takeaways on the Ravens and Steelers game?
Looks like Chris still having technical issues there, Laurel.
Yeah, we're going to have to move along in our program here. So, anyways, now let's talk about Sunday Night Football. I mean, I watched this game. The Broncos just looked blanked in this game. And if you look at the Chiefs, they're showing me that they are back. Isaiah, let me get to you first on this game. What was your thoughts on the Broncos and Chiefs game? And you think that, well, from what I saw, Teddy Bridgewater is not built to be in prime time, though.
I'm going to start a petition in the next several days to get Drew Lock to be named the starter in Denver, because it's absolutely ridiculous what Vic Fangio is doing to the Denver Broncos, and also Pat Shurmur. They're literally living and dying on the hill of Teddy Bridgewater. It makes no sense whatsoever. When the Broncos are down like 10 points, or they're even down by 7, you already know that they're going to lose the game no matter what quarter is it, because they're not going to be able to come back, because Teddy Bridgewater is a game manager. He possesses no threat whatsoever to throw the deep ball. I'm trying to find that tweet that my man Benjamin Albright, the guy that covers the Denver Broncos, tweeted out. He said something about that when Teddy Bridgewater is the quarterback, the teams that are playing him, they're not scared of his ability to throw the deep ball, because he just flat out cannot throw the deep ball. So they don't fear that whatsoever. So what they do is just stack the box, because they know what Denver's going to do. They're going to run the football with Javonte Williams, or even sometimes Melvin Gordon, and then they're going to throw a lot of short intermediate passes to their wide receivers and their tight ends, and throw a lot of checkdowns as well. So that's not going to get it done. And I think that for the Denver Broncos, Denver actually, Loro, to your point, I think Denver actually played a really good game, especially on defense, because they actually, if you look at the numbers, they actually limited Kansas City to 15 points on offense, and Patrick Mahomes had like his worst passer rating in his career. So the defense did their job. Like, I know they gave up 22 points, but 7 of those points came on a pick 6 by Teddy Bridgewater. So technically they only gave up 15. If the offense could move the football, which they did like later on in the game, I know they got only like 9 points, but they had like a couple of drives where they were in the red zone or they were in field goal territory, and they just either didn't go for the field goal, or they just threw an interception. I think this definitely could have been a way different ball game than we saw. So I think what Denver needs to do right now is, I think there's like 5 or 6 games left in the season. I know Drew Lock is erratic, and there's sometimes where he looks like you're thinking to yourself, like, what is he doing? But you got to start him, because he's a guy that I think has a higher ceiling than Teddy Bridgewater. And with him, I'm not saying that if Denver goes down like 10 points or they go down like 14, you'll definitely come back. But he gives you some hope to come back. With Teddy Bridgewater, when you're down 10, when you're down 14, or even when you're down 7 entering the fourth quarter, you should just wave the white flag, because all hope is dead and lost when Teddy Bridgewater is playing, because you're just not going to be able to come back, and he's not going to be able to lead you down the field to come back. So for Denver, Drew Lock has got to start now, and Vic Fangio, if he wants to save his job these next the final 5 games of the season and get one of the final wild card spots in the AFC, he's got to start Drew Lock. You have to start Drew Lock.
You absolutely have to start Drew Lock. You're totally spot on right about that. And Ben, you want to say something about this game? I mean, I know you're going to have some thought off your chest here.
All right, so you guys want to say start Drew Lock, but you have to remember Drew Lock was one of the leaders in interceptions last year. There's no answer at quarterback for the Denver Broncos, whether it's through the system. They got to start new. They got to either start from drafting or start with upgrade. I think they should upgrade to try to see if they can get a package for Aaron Rodgers. They were in on him on the sweepstakes this offseason. Maybe look at Russell Wilson in terms of his market. Maybe look at a guy like a Sam Darnold or a Kirk Cousins type. even if Baker Mayfield's name's out there. Try something different because I think that their quarterback situation right now, whether it's Brett Ripien, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, none of it's cutting it right now. And I thought the Chiefs offense, lower, I got to respectfully disagree. I don't think the Chiefs offense is back. I think that they've had spurts where they say, okay, it's been back, but I think that they get through a lot of these games where they get very inconsistent. Patrick Mahomes has had some turnovers, but to be fair, not all of them have been on him. Some have been off of his own guys. I'm really shocked they don't use Josh Gordon at all. I know he's not the same guy he used to be, but he's they brought him literally for nothing, and he's proven in the past that he's had some moments where he could be a very good receiver when he's on. I mean, you look with the Patriots. I mean, Brady used him quite a bit. I mean, Patrick Mahomes definitely could maybe use him more. They're using Brian Pringle over him, which is kind of interesting. Not saying Gordon should play a lot, but at least give him a little more opportunities because they're trying to figure out what their receiving core situation is. Remember, they had Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins was a pretty decent receiver after Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They don't really have that. And I mean, they're using a lot of guys in their running back game, with guys like Darrell Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which is fine. But the Chiefs are really winning games, though. They're back really because their defense is being able to keep them into winning games. And you would have thought that the Chiefs would be winning a lot of games with video game numbers on their offense. They have to be able to, in the playoffs, have Patrick Mahomes and their offense be what they were before at 100%. I think defenses are figuring them out. I keep trying to say that they're back, but I mean, for a lot of these teams, you look at Baltimore. Remember Baltimore a couple of years ago where they're just absolutely unstoppable and they were just using the run game, Greg Roman's offense or whatever. And I think that when you start to kind of figure out different teams' tendencies, once you start to figure them out, you have a certain type of blueprint. You remember Kansas City against Tampa Bay and the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay's blueprint, I think, really built off of defenses from other teams that kind of looked at that, and you kind of seen it now in terms of how Kansas City has been a little more stagnant over the course of time. Yes, they had a good win today. They'll take it, but I don't think that they're satisfied just yet.
What about you, Big B? What are your takeaways on this Sunday night game here?
Yeah, I'm with Ben. I don't think Kansas City's offense is 100% back. I mean, yeah, they could probably beat still half of the defenses in the NFL. The Kansas City's defense, I think, is pretty solid. I think, once they get the ball rolling, get that offense again, they're going to be scary. Now, you guys talk about Bridgewater, like he's, Mr. Slacker there. I mean, the guy can throw the deep ball. He's just not accurate. I mean, we all know that. The guy can sling it. We've seen it. He was 7-0 with the Saints when Drew Brees went down. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I'm saying he's serviceable. I think he needs to find a team that the system fits him. Because we know he's not a Manning, he's not a Favre, Rodgers, type of guy. Personally, I think the Saints did a big mistake in not re-signing him after Brees retired when he was a free agent. I think that system worked for him the best. To me, him in Minnesota, I think Minnesota kind of had a bad taste in their mouth, didn't give him a fair shot. I think he could have done good here, but yes, he's definitely not a starter in Denver. Denver's quarterback situation up in the air. They do need to make a move. I do definitely agree with that. But again, I mean, is Rodgers the answer? Is Wilson the answer? Is drafting somebody the answer? I mean, we'll see. I mean, time will tell. I mean, yeah, those guys would look good and probably be a better team. But you guys also got to remember, Teddy Bridgewater beat Dallas just a few weeks ago. I mean, it wasn't a close game. So, I mean, Bridgewater has the game in him, but they need a game plan for what Teddy Bridgewater could do best. They can't, just have the same game plan all the time. So that's what I think. I thought it was a good game. I think Kansas City will get into the playoffs, no doubt about that. And if they get the ball rolling on offense and get the ball rolling on defense still, they're probably going to make a Super Bowl for a third year in a row.
I don't know about that, Big B. So, anyways, moving on to Monday Night Football. It is a big showdown in Buffalo for the AFC East crown. And if the Patriots win this game, I think it could tell you something that this could really be a statement victory for the Patriots if they win tomorrow. And looking forward to this game. I mean, Ben and I talked about it yesterday. I'm going to start with you on this. I'm going to go first with my pick in this game tomorrow. I'm going with the New England Patriots. And if you look at the weather here, I'll tell you, I had 2 score possibilities that I want to get. So it's basically going to be 100% chance of rain through the day, but it is going to
I
be
thought you
windy
were going
by
to say
the-
100 points.
No, I meant to say, Big B, is that it's going to be rainy. It's going to be rainy in Buffalo throughout the day, and then it is going to be clearing up, but it is going to be a windy, and ugly windy day in Buffalo. So basically, this is not the good time to travel to Buffalo this time of year. But hey, the Patriots are used to this type of weather. So are the Bills. But I'm going to say with since it's going to be pretty windy, I'm going to say the Patriots win 17-14, and that Nick Folk kicks an 18-yard field goal to win the game. And I'm going to go with you, Ben, on this one. You said your pick on Lauro and Friends yesterday. Who's your pick? Tell the MI16 for this.
Well, I have to look at it this way, Laura. I picked against my team. I won with Buffalo, but I'll say New England has to win this way, right? Follow the same blueprint as with the Colts a couple weeks ago. Just ground and pound, especially on a bad weather day. They had a kind of a bad weather day too when they played a couple weeks ago in Buffalo. You just pound the rock. They've been pounding the rock great. They didn't pound the rock actually that great last week against Tennessee, but they have a very good run defense, so that probably explains why. I think that they're going to not let Mac Jones basically go crazy, throw it around like multiple times. Not obviously have the same 300 type of game he had last week, which just doesn't have to in order to win. I think you just have to find a way to win in this one. I think I saw if the Patriots win this one, they'll stay in first. If they lose, they go down to the 5 seed. So, I mean, obviously that just drastically is huge in terms of seeding wise. I'm not saying it's a must win, but obviously right before the bye, it definitely you feel much better before the bye. I don't know about me. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it'd be huge. The Bills will win if Josh Allen does not turn the ball over. And I think the Patriots definitely been thriving the last couple weeks in terms of turnover differential. Josh Allen in bad weather, I've seen stats, it's not pretty. And I think that's a big advantage for the Patriots. I think the biggest thing about Josh Allen, he wants to play hero ball a lot. And I think that last year, Josh Allen has ability. He's definitely his progression and growing. And Bill Belichick has been saying this week that he's definitely been really shining into proving that he's been a great quarterback. But there gets tendencies and times where he makes a lot of mistakes. He tries to get too much in terms of his mindset. And I think the Patriots rattle him. Cover Stephon Diggs. That's obviously the biggest guy in their offense. I think if you make other guys beat you, so be it. But their running game's not that good. That's not the biggest thing about Buffalo. They gotta win. They gotta win by their running game too. If they have no running game and you make them one dimensional, it's something about that against Bill Belichick. Obviously, gives me the advantage for Bill Belichick. So I think the Patriots will win. Laura, I did say the Bills will win yesterday, but after thinking about it this morning, I think that the Patriots, with the weather and stuff like that, putting it into account, I think it's going to be a 27-17 win. And I think that an 18-yard field goal, or I don't know if that's in the cards, maybe like a 23, 25-yarder. But I think that this game, I think the Patriots will get out early, and they'll just keep the clock and keep the time in possession, and Buffalo's going to play catch-up. Now, Buffalo will win if they play up and ahead early because Mac Jones is going to have to throw a lot. By the way, I just don't know if I trust it yet.
All right. Well, I think you're going to have to see Mac Jones throw a lot of short passes here. I'm going to go to Isaiah on this one. Who is your pick to win tomorrow's Monday Night Football game between the Patriots and the Bills?
Well, I looked at the weather just now, and it says that it's going to be, I believe, like 80% chance of rain and heavy wind, and it might be snow as well. So it's going to be like really ugly weather. And if it's like the weather that I experienced when I was working the Niner Colts game at Levi's, then I don't really see that there's going to be much of a passing game. I think it's going to be more of whoever is able to run the football the best will win this football game and play defense. So when I look at this game, I think it's going to be like an extremely low-scoring game. I don't really think a lot of these two or these two teams will be able to get much going on the offensive side of the ball. So I think it's going to be just defense, and defense. And I'm gonna pick the Bills just because they're at home, and I think that like the home field will play a factor in this football game. And I know Josh Allen's probably going to play, or he has a tendency to play hero ball, but I just think it's going to be close, and it's really going to come down to the final possession. And like you said, Laurel, it's going to come down to a game-winning field goal. But I got the Bills kicker, not the Patriots kicker, going with the game-winning field goal and winning the game.
And what about you, Big B? Who do you like in tomorrow's Monday night matchup?
I tell you, it's been back and forth. Kind of what Ben said. One show I'll say this team will win. Next show after thinking about it, I'll say this team wins. Man, it's tough. I mean, the weather's going to be bad. So, like Ben said, both teams are going to have to pound the ball. And whoever can do that best is probably going to get the upper hand. It will be low scoring. If we get a touchdown, it might be on a defensive fumble or a pick. I just see a lot of running. And, neither team's that dominant in running. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, it could be a 10-7 game. It could be a 9-10 game. I think it's going to be an ugly scoring game. God, now that Isaiah won with the Bills, I might have to go with the Pats because I know how he jinxes a lot of teams. But I think you're right, Laurel. I think this game is a big statement game for Matt Jones for Rookie of the Year for the rest of the season. So if the Patriots win, it'll be because Jones and the running game can get it going, no turnovers. I think that's going to be a big factor is turnovers. I think Ben said that. So I'll go with the Pats, and I think it will be, like Laurel said, a big statement game for the Pats and the Matt Jones going forward.
All right. Anyways, folks, now let's shift gears to Week 14, and we're going to start with Thursday Night Football between the Steelers and Vikings. And I'm going to start with my pick for this one, and I'm going to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers, I hate to say it, but I'm going to say the Pittsburgh Steelers got to win. I think they're going to be 7-5-1. There's no way the Vikings are going to beat the Steelers here. So, Big B, I'm going to go with you next. And who is your pick to win between the Steelers and the Vikings?
Typically I go with the home team because they don't have to travel on that short week. But Minnesota's hurting. Thielen's out, probably going to be out. Cook is probably going to be out again. You still got the studs on defense going to be out. Laura, I can't disagree with you. I mean, it's going to be a close game again. It might come down to the last drive again, like the Minnesota season has come to. Man, until I know the health of Thielen, if he's going to play, and maybe Cook and maybe some of the defensive guys, I got to go with Pittsburgh. I just, but I think it's going to be a close game. But, maybe ask me Wednesday. I might have a different answer for you. Ask me about halftime of the Thursday game. I'll probably have another different answer for you. But right now, I got to go with Pittsburgh. I think Vikings are hurting too much right now. And Zim will be gone by Friday.
We'll see about that, Big B. But anyways, Isaiah, I'm going to go to you next. Who do you like between the Steelers and the Vikings?
I'm going to go Pittsburgh. I just think that right now, when you look at Minnesota, like Big B said, too many injuries, and I just feel like the team is falling apart at the wrong time. The defense is getting exposed. They got exposed against my Niners. They got exposed today against Detroit. And Pittsburgh and Big Ben, they're just going to dink and dunk their way to a lot of points in this football game. And I looked at some of the Vikings injuries. Dalvin Cook most likely won't play for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Thielen, he's probably out. They said that, he has like a high ankle sprain, so he could be out a month. So then that's a huge blow as well, because now you're going to have a lot of the opponent's attention, or all of them, on Justin Jefferson, with 2 of your other big-time offensive playmakers out for the game. So I got to go with Pittsburgh. I just think Minnesota, they too much injuries to a lot of their star players.
Yes, absolutely. And Anyways, now with that being said, here we'll go to Ben. Who is your pick to win between the Steelers and the Vikings?
I'm gonna go upset. I think Minnesota's just that weird team that you just never know with them. And I think that one week they could be like, "Wow, they really beat that team," and then the other week they'll just give you pure heartbreak. So I think on a short week, this is actually really good for Minnesota. They can move on quickly, and Pittsburgh to me just seems like consistency on a week to week. Yes, they beat Baltimore, but they really didn't have much until like the final drive. I think their offense is a little overrated to me. Personally, I think that the Vikings defense can definitely kind of keep them in check a bit, and I think that's a good thing for the Vikings. So I'm going to go upset despite a lot of the injuries, and I think that they're going to win it by their defense.
Absolutely. I mean,
Ben,
I
you
still
must watch a
pick
lot of
Pittsburgh.
Vikings football because that's exactly what we say every week here in Minnesota. So the Vikings are a team that we don't know about. But Laura, before we move on, can I get to Justin's comment about Mike Tomlin being on the hot seat? Do we really think he's on the hot seat for Pittsburgh? What do you think?
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I don't think it might be warm, but I don't think he's on the hot seat. I mean, he's done a lot there in Pittsburgh. I mean, they're kind of going into a rebuild because we know Big Ben's going to take a step this week or this year, and this will be his last year. So, just I don't think he's on the hot seat now. If he does get let go, it really wouldn't surprise me much. But I don't think Pittsburgh's going anywhere.
Hey, if he gets let go, you better believe there's going to be like teams firing their coaches just to go after him.
Minnesota,
Maybe.
Maybe so. So now let's go on to our afternoon games for next Sunday. I mean, not a lot of action week 14 because there's going to be the Patriots, the Colts, the Dolphins, and the Eagles have bye weeks. So let's start with the Raiders and Chiefs. This is a really, really good divisional matchup here. But you know what? I'm going to say the Chiefs are going to win this game. I just say that because I think they're going to be 9-4. And I think that the Chiefs, I just think that the Raiders, they're a team that's just streaky right now. And they showed why they are so streaky after losing to the Washington football team. And Isaiah, who do you like between the Raiders and the Chiefs?
I'm going to go upset. Give me the Raiders because right now when you look at these two teams, they're both streaky actually. Sometimes Kansas City, when their offense is great, their defense just doesn't show up. When their defense shows up, their offense doesn't show up like today. So I don't know which Kansas City team we're going to get. Like we've never seen like a complete Kansas City team this entire season, maybe minus when they played the New York Giants, but that's it. So I mean, the Raiders, I think what the Raiders are going to do is they're going to look at what the Broncos did today and try to copy what the Broncos did today and just have like time-consuming drives, run the football with Josh Jacobs and just third and go or third and manageable, get the first down and just move the chains. And I think that's what they're going to do. And they're going to try to keep away from Patrick Mahomes and they're going to limit the amount of drives that Patrick Mahomes is able to come out on the field for. So I got the Raiders. Give me the Raiders to win by, I'm going to say like 27-24. I think it's not going to be like a high scoring game, but it's going to be like in the mid-20s.
I could totally see that going there, but Big B, who do you like between the Raiders and Chiefs?
Chiefs at home? I haven't looked at next week's schedule yet, so.
Yeah,
Chiefs at home? I'm kind of with Isaiah, and it scares me to say that. I mean, but you don't know what Raiders team is going to show up either. I mean, you get the Raiders team that looks, kind of like the Vikings, look unbeatable. Then you get the Raiders team that looks like, a high school team could beat them. So I think it's going to be a battle between both of them. Both of them need the win, but I got to put my money on the Chiefs being at home. Just hope Mahomes can show up and not make some mistakes that he made tonight. So I'll go with the Chiefs.
And then, Ben, who do you like between the Chiefs and the Raiders?
I'm going to go Chiefs because I think Mahomes, out of any game that he's really performed the best team-wise, complete-wise, it was against the Raiders. And I think that he's going to fall a lot at the same film that he had against that last one. He's at home with the fans. It's a big rivalry game. I think that their offense responds after the game that they saw tonight, and with the defense the way that they've been playing, I gotta give them credit. I know Andy Reid has not been the same type of Andy Reid as the past, but he's still been able to kind of find ways to win. And I think that Derek Carr in the last couple games under pressure, it's not being able to get the job done. Nothing to take away from him. I think he's a very underrated quarterback when it's all said and done because he makes a lot of throws where he can definitely impress you, but I think that he also have to move on from it at some point. I think that you have to move on from Derek Carr possibly and maybe move into a better situation when it's all said and done. But I do think it's going to be a close game, and I do think that with it being at home and the way that they played the Raiders last time with Patrick Mahomes, I think they win.
I think so too. So, anyways, now let's talk about the Cowboys and Washington football team. I wish we had Chris P. Bacon to talk about this game, but I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys to win this game. They're the better team right now, and I think that they're going to snap Washington's win streak, and that I think Washington's going to go 6-7. What about you, Isaiah?
Give me the Cowboys as well because the Cowboys have a really good offense. Washington's defense is kind of like Kansas City. Sometimes they play great, sometimes they play terrible, and you're wondering like they have like 4 or 5 first-round defensive linemen, and they're all looking like they're bust on the football field. So, with the Cowboys' explosive offense and, their defense, their complementary defense, and how Diggs has been playing as of late, I would not be shocked if that front seven of the Dallas Cowboys gets after Heineke and he throws like a couple interceptions in that game. And I think those like the turnovers are going to be the ones that ultimately decides this football game because, divisional games are always close. So it just comes down to 1 or 2 turnovers. And I think that the teams that will get the turnover will be the Dallas Cowboys. So give me Dallas in this game.
And what about you, Ben?
I'm going to go Washington. I think that they're one of the hottest teams low-key in football right now. I think they're going to keep riding the wave, and I'm going to keep following the Taylor Heineke train. It's been an awesome ride right now. They've been in every single game really closely. They just feel like a really tight-knit group. Their defense, it feels like the defense after Chase Young left has gotten a little more tighter together, which has been a little bit more surprising. But you figure with Chase Young out there, it would be even more stacked. Ron Rivera, give him a lot of credit. He's been a great coach, I think, for this team. And I think Taylor Heineke has really kind of helped them out. Antonio Gibson's a great running back, great find. Dallas, I got to disagree. I'm going to balance in terms of how they did last game. They had Dak and all those guys together. They didn't really do much. I mean, they had a couple drives here and there, but against the Saints defense, a really good Saints defense, they didn't do really a whole lot. It was really the Saints offense that just is absolutely inept. So I think that the Washington defense is going to do a good job on Dallas, and I think that Washington's going to win.
Maybe so. You could be right about that. And Big B, who do you like between the Cowboys and the Washington football team?
I think it's going to come down to a team that can capitalize on mistakes, on extra penalties, minor mistakes from the other team. I got to go with Ben on this. I think Washington is really the team that's hot right now outside of the Patriots. Washington has nothing to play for. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think they do have stuff to play for the division stuff, but I think they're out there to be like, what if we lose, especially Heineke. I mean, what's he got to lose? I mean, he showed what he could do in the playoffs. I mean, all he's doing is playing better. I mean, he's showing that they should have kept him or signed him and made him the starter over who they signed this year, Fitzmagic. I mean, yeah, I like Fitzmagic too, but I think Heineke deserves the job. I think he's earned it. I think he's just playing with, maybe not a chip on his shoulder, but just that freedom of, kind of schoolyard football type. And, hey, I don't care if I lose or not, so Dallas, I think, has a lot to lose. I think that defense is solid, but, it's going to come down to a team that makes the least amount of mistakes and can capitalize on the opponent's mistakes.
That's going to be the key there, that's for sure. So now we're going to go on to the Jaguars and Texans. And I know, Isaiah, you might want to say Jacksonville to kind of play for pride at this point. I think the Jaguars are eliminated from playoff contention. But I'm going to go first. I'll pick Tennessee to blow out Jacksonville. I just think that without Derrick Henry, the Titans, they should be able to win this game. I think that if they get A.J. Brown and Julio Jones back by that time, I think that the Titans will easily win this game. So, Isaiah, who do you like in this game between the Jaguars and the Titans?
Wait, is it the Texans or is it the Titans that the Jaguars are facing?
Titans, I meant. I'm picking the Titans.
I thought you said the Texans too, and I'm almost like, this might be a good one.
Yeah, if it was the Texans, I probably would have picked Jacksonville because I know that they played really bad against them in week 1. But, I already surrendered my whole, the Jaguars are going to win the AFC South thing tonight. So, give me the Titans to win this game. I think that the Jaguars, their offense has looked inept the last 4 games of this, the last 4 games this season, and I don't know, when you shut down the run game and you make Trevor Lawrence have to beat you, he just looks like a bust right now. Though I don't think it's his fault. It's the weapons, it's the play calling, but he just can't put a team on his back and beat you right now. And the defense for the Jags, they can't stop the run. They're playing really undisciplined football. It's a total disaster and a total mess. I don't even know how they managed to beat the Buffalo Bills that day, that Sunday. So give me the Titans. I think the Titans win by 2 touchdowns at least.
Absolutely. And then, Ben, what about you?
You know what? The NFL's been crazy this year. It's been a wild. You know what, Isaiah? I'm going to give you your wish. I think Jacksonville with the depleted Titans.
Wow.
I think that the Jaguars, the Texans also beat the Titans, remember, in Tennessee. I think this game's in Tennessee. I think that the Titans are going to have an upset again.
I don't know about that, Ben. I mean, Trevor Lawrence had a bad game, but I don't know if he can have.
I've been pretty conservative with my picks for a lot of the rest of the show. That's a hot take. Another take I'm going to have is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Before I was raising my hand about that, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he should go to either the Saints or he should go to Denver because I think that Taylor Heineke should keep his job in Washington now. I think it's his job now to not lose.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Big B, who do you like between the Jaguars and the Titans?
Well, first off, I like Ben's second take. I think Fitzmagic definitely will move on to one of those 2 teams. He kind of stole what I was going to do. I was going to come out and say we're going to have a big upset, jokingly, but I think he's being serious about it. I don't know. I mean, I don't think Tennessee – is it a lose-proof game? No. I don't know. I don't think the Titans can lose this one at home. Would it shock me? No. I mean, we've seen Jacksonville pull up the upsets. I just can see it now that Jacksonville wins. Isaiah do his normal video that, they're back. They're going to make it. They're not eliminated yet. But I got to go with Tennessee. They got too many weapons, and Jacksonville right now is just rebuilding. They have nothing to play for.
Didn't the Titans also lose to a couple really bad teams this season, like the Jets, and I feel like I'm forgetting one more.
Yeah,
they've had a record of losing.
They lost
to
the Texans and Jets.
Yeah, the Texans. Right?
Yeah.
Texans.
Man, would that be something you lose to Texans, the Jets, and the Jags all in the same year?
Gosh.
All right. So now, folks, we'll talk about the Seahawks and Texans here. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks to win this game. I think that might be an easy win for the Seahawks again, and I think that they're going to go 5-8. And I could see the Seahawks getting hot at the right time. And Isaiah, who do you like between your nickname Sea Chickens versus the Texans?
Believe it or not, I'm going to go with the upset. Give me Houston to win this game because it's in Houston, and the West Coast teams always, when they go travel from the West to the East, they always struggle adapting to the time zone, and they always come out flat. And that's a lot of reasons why they always seem to lose those 10 a.m. start times. And yeah, Russell Wilson was great today, but I want to see him put together a string of really good games before I actually say, yeah, Russell Wilson is back. So I think that it's going to be an upset because I just don't think the Seahawks will be able to adapt to the time change. And I think they'll start flat, and by the time they wake up, it's going to be too late.
What about you, Ben? Who do you like between the Seahawks and Texans?
Well, Isaiah, I mean, I understand I had my pick before that maybe rolled some eyes. The Texans can't simply score. They have no quarterback. They did a coach's decision with Davis Mills today. I think on a bad Russell Wilson game, they should still be able to win. I'm going to go with Noah's pick. I think this is a big game for Seattle. They're playing a team, the Texans, where they just can barely score. They're top to bottom, they're just organizational is an absolute mess, as I've said for like a lot of the season. So I'm going to Seahawks.
And what about you, Big B?
God, I hate when I kind of agree with Isaiah. I really do. Houston definitely doesn't have nothing to play for, so they can just come out and just ball out as much as possible. Ben, I like your takes. I get it. You're right, but for some reason, I just think Houston's just going to come out and just be like, hey, we got nothing to play for. Let's just go old school on this or schoolyard. I'm going to take Houston just in a minor upset. I don't think it's going to be a big game, but Seattle. I'm with Isaiah though. I want to see Russell Wilson prove that he's the old Russell Wilson, not this new one we've seen. So, being that it's at home, I'm going to take Houston.
All right. So, anyways, let's talk about the Saints and Jets game. I mean, I'm going to go first with this pick, and I'm going to say that I'm going to pick the Saints to win this game. I just think that the Jets right now do not look good right now. And Ben, you know the Jets pretty well. Tell me who you like in this game.
Yeah, the fact I have to watch them week by week in the New York market says it all. It's terrible. Either get the Jets to watch a lot or the Giants. It's it sucks. But I'm gonna go with the Jets. I don't think the Saints they're okay, but I mean the Jets at least have made games close here and there. Zach Wilson had some flashes today, but it's really their defense, their coaching situation is kind of up and down. So it's a matchup between two teams that are just kind of there right now. And Saints have a good defense, but their offense is atrocious without Kamara. I'm going to go with the Jets.
And what about you, Isaiah? Who do you like between the Saints and the Jets?
I'm actually going to agree with Ben. I'm going to pick the Jets because whether it's Taysom Hill or whether it's Trevor Siemian or Taysom Hill, both of those guys are atrocious. And Kamara, I don't think will play in that game. And the defense, they can bend, don't break, but they're eventually going to break if the offense can't do anything. And I don't think the offense will be able to do much in this game. And Zach Wilson, I feel like, has turned a corner since his injury. And I feel like he's gotten better since he's came back from the injury and also came back from being benched for Mike White and also Joe Flacco having, sat on the bench and observed and seen like how defenses treat like the opposing team's offenses, I think has really helped him. So give me the Jets, but I think it's going to be like a close game.
What about you, Big B?
All right. 1 hour and 28 minutes into this, 129 here in a second. We're going to have a tie game, guys. Both teams are going to miss a field goal to win the game. It's going to be a tie game.
What the heck? Oh my God!
I've never had a tie being picked on the show before. It's like a history, Big B.
Tie game.
I don't know about that.
Oh, come on! Both teams are just ferocious right now, and I mean, honestly, I'm taking the tie as a serious thing, but if I had to pick a winner, I have to go with the Jets. I think the Saints are just so up and down right now, and so are the Jets. That, man, I just can't pick a winner. But if I have to, for the sake of the show, I'll go with the Jets. But I really think we're going to see a tie come that game.
All right. Now let's talk about the Falcons and the Panthers. I mean, both teams are 5-7. Who is going to come out and be 6-7? This is a tough choice. I mean, speaking of the Panthers, we have to address this. I mean, why in the world would the Panthers fire Joe Brady? That was ridiculous. Isaiah, what's your thoughts on this?
You mean this game or like the Joe Brady situation?
The Joe Brady situation before we get our picks in for this one.
I'm surprised because I thought that, he was only there for like 1.5 years. And, even though the offense wasn't doing anything, it wasn't really his fault because you're missing Christian McCaffrey. You're missing a couple wide receivers. You don't have a star level quarterback. I mean, you had Teddy Bridgewater last year. We've seen what he can do. You also have, Sam Darnold. He was decent the first couple of games, but then everybody pretty much figured him out. And when he got injured, then you had other guys that aren't starting level quarterbacks step in. So I don't think it's his fault. I think it's a mistake. I think Matt Rule is making a desperation move here. And I don't know why he should be doing that because he's got like a 7-year contract. So it's not like they're going to fire him. But I think that it's a desperation move. I think it's a mistake to fire Joe Brady. I think Joe Brady's one of the brightest minds in all of football. And now I think the Panthers should have given Joe Brady a chance with, like, let's say a Deshaun Watson or a veteran star quarterback, which I think they're going to go out and get this offseason.
And then anyways, we have to get that real quick. So Ben and Big B will get the Joe Brady situation when we make our picks here. So this one for me, I'm going to pick the Atlanta Falcons to win this game. I do not trust Carolina right now. Carolina's shorthanded offensively. No Christian McCaffrey, and this offense is nowhere without him. So, Isaiah, tell us you're picking this game.
They should name this week 14 in the NFL the toilet week because there's like so many games out there on the slate that you're just like, why am I watching the one toilet bowl? Then you have another toilet bowl, and then you have another toilet bowl. Like Panthers, Falcons, Saints, and Jets are some of the games that I'm definitely not looking forward to. But if I had to pick, I probably go with the Falcons because I think that they're the better offensive team. The Panthers aren't really doing anything on offense. They just fired Joe Brady. Their defense has struggled as of late. And so I got to go with Matt Ryan.
And what about you, Ben?
I'm going to go tie. No, I'm just kidding. Both teams are tied record-wise, so figure maybe there'll be a tie moving forward. But hey, I don't, and both teams are kind of there equally. Before I head off for the night because it's 2:15 in the morning my time, so I definitely get myself go to bed. But after this, I think I'm going to go with the Panthers. I think at least the Atlanta Falcons defense is not very good. Not saying Cam Newton's the same guy he used to be, but I think that they can, with their weapons that they have, I think that they can move the football on this team. The Falcons' offense is hit or miss here and there. I think that they will get in a little bit of a struggle in this week. So I'm going to go with Carolina. All right.
And what about you, Big B?
The refs. I mean, can they win this game? No, I think Carolina, I think, is going to be a team that they're going to win this one. I think with the offense coordinator getting fired, they're going to show that it wasn't him. They just weren't playing well. And with Brady getting fired, I think he was just a fall guy, right now. So we'll see how it develops. But I'll take the Panthers in a close one.
That's a good call right there. So now let's go on to our last 10 a.m. game before we head into the late afternoon slots. And the Ravens, however, are taking on the Baltimore Ravens. And you know that the Ravens have the Browns numbers. So I'm picking the Ravens to win this game. I just think Lamar Jackson's going to bounce back from this game. And I think that the Ravens are going to get a win here. What about you, Isaiah?
Is it in Cleveland or is it in Baltimore?
In Cleveland.
Oh, man, this is tough. Whew. This is probably out of all the games thus far, this is probably the game that I'm looking forward to the most. What the hell? Give me the Browns because I think the Browns. I mean, Baker's not 100%, but I just don't trust Lamar Jackson. And with the Ravens secondary being as depleted as they are, I think Baker will be able to carve up the Ravens secondary with Jarvis Landry and all those wide receivers that they have, Donovan Peoples-Jones as well. And also I think Njoku was going to have a big day as well. So, and also the running game with Chubb and with with Kareem Hunt, I think they're going to have a monster day. I just think Cleveland's the more complete offense and complete team. And Baltimore, too many injuries, and I'm not really a believer in Lamar Jackson.
What about you, Big B?
If the Browns could stop, or I'm sorry, if the Ravens could stop the Browns running attack and Lamar Jackson could show some passing skills, I'll take the Ravens. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Browns are going to run. I think Mayfield's going to do what he can not to make mistakes. I think the Browns are going to win this one, and I would not be surprised to be a 2-touchdown game. So I'm going with the Browns at home.
That could happen. But now on to the late afternoon slots here. So the Chargers, however, are hosting the New York Giants. And that's not a game that we're going to talk about much. I'm going to go with the hometown LA Chargers to win this game. I think that the Chargers, I think they're going to be streaking at this time for wins. They're going to be carving up some wins here before Week 18. What about you, Isaiah?
What was the game? The Chargers and who? The
Giants, New York Giants. That's going to be at SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, give me the Chargers. The Giants are just a mess right now, and I think Joe Judge sadly gets fired after the season.
And what about you, Big B?
Yeah, if it was in New York, I would jokingly say the Giants, just to get a low roll going. But yeah, the Chargers are rolling right now. Herbert's showing that he is a stud at quarterback. They got the weapons, so I'll take the Chargers all day at home against this Giants team.
Absolutely. And then the Lions and the Broncos. So do I want to pick the Lions to win this game, or do I want to go Denver? I'm going to go Denver in this game. I just think that it's in Denver. I think the Lions will play hard, but I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to have a really, really good game. A lot of people have said to me that Teddy Bridgewater is not a franchise quarterback. I'm like, he should be a franchise quarterback, in my opinion. It's because of the Vikings just mistreated him. I want to see Teddy Bridgewater be a franchise guy, but he's just not getting the love that he needs here. So that's why I give me the Denver Broncos in this game. And I'm going to go with you, Big B. You know the NFC North pretty well. And who do you like between the Lions and the Broncos?
I'm a Bridgewater guy. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he has the qualifications to be an elite or average franchise quarterback. I think, like I said before, he needs the system to fit him. And I'm with you, Laurel. I think the Vikings went sour on him really quick. I think they should have given him a better shot. Man, Lions coming off that huge win today. I mean, could the Lions do it 2 in a row? I mean, if they want any shot at the playoffs, they can't lose a game. So, I'll put my money on the Lions to go 2 in a row.
That's a good call, but we'll have to wait and see. Now we're on to the 125 games. Let's start with the Niners and Bengals. Isaiah, you're going to be with me on the extra point next week because you don't have to work until week 15 when the Niners take on the Falcons. So the Niners are in Cincy. This is going to be a pretty tough test for the 49ers here. And as for the Bengals, I think the Bengals are going to win this game, though. What about you, Isaiah? Who do you like in this game?
Actually, before I give that pick, I'm going to give the Broncos and Lions because I don't think I gave my pick for that game.
Yeah, you did
not
not.
care.
Yeah, for the Broncos and Lions, even though I like Vic Fangio a lot and I really hope he wins because I want him to save his job, it's really hard for me, but I'm going to go with Big V. I'm going to pick Detroit because this is the thing about Denver. Whenever they play the good teams and they're not expected to win, they come out and play amazing football and they win the game. But when they are supposed to win the game and they're playing teams that, are terrible or not that good, like they did against the Eagles, and they're projected or favored to win the game, they always crap the bed and they don't show up. And I think that if the trends are right, I think it's going to come true yet again. And I got to go with Denver or Detroit over Denver. In terms of the Niners, that's not at Levi's, right?
It's at Cincinnati.
All right, that's weird that they're having that game as like a 125 West Coast time game, but I'm gonna go with the Niners because when I look at Cincinnati, their biggest they have two weaknesses. The run defense, because today Eckler just torched them on the ground today, and their secondary is not that good, especially if they can't bring pressure and get to the opposing team's quarterback. And I think that plays into the Niners' favor, because what do the Niners love to do? They love to run the football with Mitchell and Wilson and Hasty and all those guys, and they like to they like to get on third and manageable. And Jimmy Garoppolo, even though he struggled today, he when he has time to throw the football, he is able to throw the football down the field to Kittle. And I don't think Deebo Samuel's going to play, but Ayuk and Trent Sherfield as well. So I think that the Niners will be able to put up a lot of points. Plus, when Kyle Shanahan plays the people that either coach under Sean McVay, he knows the blueprint to beating those teams, because he basically runs the same system that Zach Taylor does. So the Niners defense pretty much goes up against that same offense on a day-to-day basis. So I think they'll be able to shut them down and be able to get a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow. And I don't think that Joe Burrow will have that good of a day, because I think they'll be able to shut down Mixon. They're going to make Joe Burrow have to beat them, and they're going to bring a lot of pressure with Bosa up front against Joe Burrow. And I think that Joe Burrow is going to have a nightmare of a day, and I think the Niners will be able to run the football down the Bengals' throat, and the Bengals won't be able to stop them.
What about you, Big B? Who do you like in the 49ers and Bengals contest?
We're going to see a blowout. Bengals are going to blow these guys out. Mixon's going to have a career day. Burrows is going to have a career day. It's going to just be a career day in Cincinnati. That's what we should call this game, career day in Cincinnati. Bengals are going to win. San Fran is not that team. They're going to take a step back in the playoff race. Cincy's going to win.
All right. Now, the Bills and the Buccaneers. Tom Brady has the Bills number in his career, but Josh Allen and Tom Brady have gone head-to-head before Tom Brady left the New England Patriots. But I'm going to say Brady gets the best out of Josh Allen, and I think that the Bills will probably fall to 7-6. And Isaiah, who do you like between Brady versus Allen?
Is this on Sunday Night Football?
No, that's a 125 game. That's with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo.
So is it in Buffalo or is it in
Tampa Bay?
I got to go with the home team. I think that Tampa Bay, it's going to be like an offensive shootout. I don't really think there's going to be a lot of defense, because the Bills' defense isn't that good. The Buccaneers' defense hasn't been good this season. It's been a major disappointment. And you got Brady and his weapons versus Josh Allen and the weapons that he's got. So I expect this game to be like a high shootout. So I'm going to go Buccaneers, and I'm going to go like 37-34.
All right. And then what about you, Big B? Who do you like between Brady versus Allen?
Well, if it's Brady versus Allen, I like Allen way better than Brady. But we got the Buccaneers, we got the Bills. You can't go away. You can't get away from the weapons and the defense that the Bucs have. I mean, they brought everybody back from their Super Bowl team last year, so they know everybody. I think it'll be a close game. Unless we get some injuries tomorrow night to the Bills, but I think the Bucs and Tom Brady are going to win this one.
Absolutely. But now, with that being said now we'll talk about Monday Night Football, as it's going to be a West Coast showdown next week. As
Sunday night game?
Was that?
No, Sunday night game?
Sorry. My bad, Big B. So
okay.
So on to the Sunday night game. This is the oldest rivalry in the NFL, and they meet for the second time this season. And then the Packers, however, beat the Bears in Chicago the last time. And then this historic rivalry is going to be renewed to next Sunday. Looking forward to watching this game. I want to see Justin Fields in this game. I want to see him and Aaron Rodgers go head-to-head, not Andy Dalton or Nick Foles here. But I'm going to say that the Green Bay Packers go to 10-3, and the Bears are sadly going to go 4-9. What about you, Isaiah?
I'm going to go with Green Bay. If it was in Chicago, I might say that, I might give a little more thought to picking the Bears, but the Bears are going the wrong direction. Early reports are saying that it's going to be Andy Dalton in this game, so I don't trust them whatsoever. So give me the Packers, and I think it's not even going to be that close.
You got to start Justin Fields if he's healthy enough for this game. What about you, Big B?
Yeah, I mean, you're in Lambeau Field. It's tough. No matter how bad the Packers are, it's always tough to play at Lambeau with that crowd. And if my math is correct, I could be wrong. I'm not looking at the records right now. Packers win. I think they clinched the division or at least a playoff spot. One of the two. I know it's coming up here. So I got to go with the Packers. You had the bye week this week. You got another week to, scout the Bears if you have to. I mean, the Bears are so dysfunctional right now that, especially if they start Andy Dalton. But, yeah, you got to go Justin Fields. It wouldn't shock me right now if we see a little Jordan Love action in the fourth quarter. So I'll go Packers.
All right, now on to the West Coast Monday Night Showdown in the desert when the Rams take on the Cardinals. And I think this is going to be a really good game. Isaiah, you know these two teams pretty well. I'm going to go with my hometown LA Rams in this game. They really need to get a big win here. But it's going to be tough playing the Cardinals, though. But we'll see. What about you, Isaiah?
This game is in the desert, right?
Yeah, at State Farm Stadium where Super Bowl 58-7 will be next season.
I'm gonna go with the Cardinals just because I think that Matthew Stafford the last 3 games before today he hasn't been playing that great of football, and today you're playing Jacksonville, so of course you're going to be able to light him up. But I want to see him if he's really back on track. I want to see him go up against the top tier competition and ball out against a team like the Cardinals. And the Cardinals are red hot right now. They've won a lot of games this season. Their offense is rolling. Their defense is rolling. They're going to be able to get after Matthew Stafford. And that's what happened when the Niners played Stafford, and why Stafford was so uncomfortable and he struggled was because the Niners brought a lot of pressure and he struggled with that. And he threw 2 interceptions, I believe, in that game. So give me the Cardinals in this game, and they're at home too.
All right. And then what about you, Big B? Who do you like in this game?
I think Isaiah's onto something because whatever defense can get to the quarterback and rattle him, I think is going to win this game. Potentially, you got MVP candidates facing off against each other, Murray and Stafford. I just like the Rams at home. I think whichever team loses, I think their quarterback is going to be out of the MVP discussion. So I'm going with the Rams. I think Stafford is going to show that. We saw him here twice every year with the Vikings, and we know what he can do. So he's got some weapons. I think he's going to show up and take care of business on Monday night.
Absolutely. So we're going to get to some final thoughts here, folks. So it has been a really, really good show. And I think that Justin Bosman, you're the MVP of our show. Casey King as well. And also Ishmael Lancaster for tuning in as well. But, it's been a great show. But my final thoughts is that looking forward to tomorrow's Patriots and Bills game. And then also Wild Sports Talk. After I call the game on Colorcast, I'm looking forward to recapping the game with my guys, Isaiah and Adam, tomorrow on Wild Sports Talk. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's show. And Isaiah, I know you are looking forward to tomorrow's show as well.
I just hope Adam doesn't put in topics about Georgia and Bama or Niners and Seahawks and have to, rub it in about my awful weekend that I had. But it was a great show. Thank you to all the fans for tuning in. Justin with all of his amazing comments. I think we had Ishmael also and Casey King that tuned in as well. Big B, I want to thank you for hopping on. I know you hopped on last minute to talk about the Vikings. And I think there was one question I wanted to get to, but I don't really know where it is. And it was from Ishmael, who said, I believe early on in the show about Alabama's wide receiver Mechie getting hurt and tearing his ACL. He was, I believe, a top 15 projected first-round pick. So that's a big blow not only for Alabama, but it's a big blow for him because now imagine the payday and the draft position that he would have been if he didn't get hurt, and now he's hurt. He's out for the year. He probably won't even play until December or November of next season. So if he does go out for the draft, the team that probably will draft him probably won't even draft him in the first round, probably will draft him in the maybe the third or the fourth round. But he's very talented. But I don't know if he's going to be going to the draft now because he has that injury, and he probably is better off just rehabbing in Alabama, coming back next year, and just having another season next year at Bama and rebuilding his draft stock. But it's a huge blow for Bama, and also it's a huge blow for him as well in terms of his career.
It is a big blow, but I'm hopeful that John Mechie will be a really good receiver, and I'm kind of hopeful that he is a New England Patriot by the time we pick him in the first round or maybe in the second round. So to pair with Mac Jones.
Well, I don't even know if he's even going to enter the draft because he was a projected top 15 pick, and now he's going to be out until like November of next year. So I don't even know if you're a team, and Big B, you probably would agree too. If you're a team in the NFL, I don't even know if you would pick him too, because ACL injuries, like they could.
Teams that if he does go for the draft, teams that have receivers will probably pick him, so then they could just stash them. But a team that doesn't have a stud receiver, they're not going to touch him because they're going to want him week one. If he's going to be out October, November, come back mid-November to December, for a rookie year, I think his best bet would be stay at Alabama, play what you can there, show that you're healthy, and then come back. You might not be a top 15, but you'll probably be 15 to 20, pick. So, but my final thought, I know we didn't talk college football tonight, but I still don't understand. I get the point. I just don't understand how you can drop Cincy. You don't move Michigan. You put Bama 1, Michigan 2, Georgia 3, Cincy 4. I don't understand it. I know why they did it. To me, I think it was unfair, but, I'm not there to predict I'm not in the war room, as you can call it, to do that. So they did what they did. So right now I'm going Cincy and Michigan with the upsets. We're going to get two different teams in the championship game next in January.
Wow, man. You got Cincy beating Bama. Wow.
I don't think that's going to happen, Big B.
Well, wait, Laurel, I mean, if you had to give your, national championship prediction right now, who would you take? In terms of, the two games, the winner of the two games.
I actually would want a rematch, to be honest with you guys. I definitely would want a rematch between Georgia and Alabama on the national.
I think it's going to be Georgia and Alabama.
And that's what the voters are hoping for, is a Georgia-Bama rematch. But I know you got half the fans that probably want that, and you got the other fans that are like me that want Michigan, Cincinnati just to really screw up this whole poll and stuff. So we'll see what happens. Trust me, I think Michigan probably has a better chance of winning than Cincy. Don't get me wrong on there.
Give me one more shot at Alabama.
Here's a look at Callum McClurg, who tuned in late. He also says Isaiah loses again. I don't have a Callum impression, but I think that's the best I could do.
Isaiah loses again. There you go. That's the best I could do.
No, Callum's like, hey, Isaiah, how about them Niners, baby?
and I'll say it just for Colin, too. And I'll say it for Colin, too. Bucks and 6.
Oh, my God. All right, folks. Enjoy the rest of your night. Isaiah, I'll see you tomorrow on Wild Sports Talk with Ace and me. We have the big three back together after a week off last week. So
2 weeks, too, with Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what Ace has in store, and we're going to talk some Monday Night Football. Look forward to recapping the game with you guys tomorrow.
Yep, it's going to be fun, man.
It's going to be fun. Have a great rest of your night, everyone.
Yeah. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I got what it take to be a champ. You know ball's life, you should come and join the camp. Title after title, put my rivals off the map. Thought you had the trophy till I came in for the snatch. I was born in it, not sworn in it. come to play, my wrist mean all business. Running like a mimic, check my jersey, authentic. In Oakland with some Raiders, till my haters deal with it. I'm in the field with it. Stop playing. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need